If you're shooting wildlife but you feel your photos aren't improving as fast as you hoped, this video is for you. I've taken well over 100,000 wildlife images, and these are the 10 things I wish someone told me when I started. These aren't the tips you hear everywhere. These are the far less talked about but much more important parts of becoming a better wildlife photographer. And if you'll watch till the end, I'll even share a bonus tip. The first thing I wish I understood is that sharp is far more important than clean. Everyone always says, keep your ISO low, but a sharp photo with noise is 100 times better than a blurry photo that's clean. One trick I use is to start with a high ISO and shutter speed and get the shot. Then, if I have time, I gradually lower my ISO and shutter speed to get the cleanest shot possible without losing sharpness. Try it out, you'll be surprised to see how low you can go. One thing I really wish I focused on earlier was knowing my camera and its settings. In wildlife photography, everything happens fast. You don't have time to scroll through menus or to guess which settings to change. You should know your camera well enough to change ISO, shutter speed, aperture and autofocus modes without even taking your eye off the viewfinder. And it's not just about buttons, it's about knowing why you change specific settings. Wildlife photography isn't just about cameras and composition, it's even more about animals and their behavior. When you understand animal behavior, you stop reacting and start anticipating. For example, when bee-eaters are hunting, they often return to the same birds. Or that, when large birds like eagles or owls poop, they often prepare to take off, which most of the time is into the wind to help with updraft. Probably my number one piece of advice to anyone in the early stage of their photography journey is to organize your photos. Develop a simple folder structure, culling process and rating system. A general rule I made for myself is that I should delete at least 2/3 of the photos I took from any particular shoot. This helps me save storage space, it makes editing easier, and it helps me find my best photos. Editing is something hugely underestimated when starting. If you feel like you're taking good photos, but they're just not coming out as good as you thought or hoped, editing is probably the missing piece. So if you want to become a better editor, go and check out this video where I tell you about my full Lightroom editing workflow. Another big mistake I made that held me back for long was keeping the same settings for an entire session. Different animals, different light, different backgrounds, they all require unique settings. So get into the habit of checking your settings every time you lift your camera to your eye. Although gear matters, experience matters more. Knowing where to stand, how to use light and when to wait will improve your photos much more than upgrading your gear. And with all that money you save, why don't you invest in a bucket list trip? Because a fancy camera is useless if you can't go out and use it. Speaking of gear, always research before buying gear. Think about what you shoot, how far you walk and what focal length you actually need. Waiting and researching almost always leads to better decisions. You're going to miss some shots, and that's completely normal. It doesn't mean you're a bad photographer. It just means you're pushing yourself. But the key is to learn from your mistakes and not to dwell on them. I wish I learned earlier is to shoot with intention. Don't just take photos because there's something there. Think about the background, the composition, the story, and then take the shot. And as I promised, here's the bonus tip. To get out there and use your camera. Go into your back garden, come to a place like this close to you, where you can make mistakes, learn. That's how you become a better wildlife photographer. And I promise you, you'll be ready when the next big shot comes. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're serious about improving in photography, consider subscribing, and then I'll see you in the next one.